Hello, everybody. This is Celia Milton. I'm the wedding officiant to go to if you're in North Jersey, and I'm here with my partner, Andrea Pertel, who is the wedding officiant for Central, as Chris would say, that is a thing, Central and South Jersey. So we got you covered. And today we're going to have you covered with a fabulous photographer that that I met at one of our favorite places, the Old Mill, Chris Sztybel, who is a wonderful, expressive, creative. I want to say photojournalistic, but a lot of people say that, and it's really not true. But really, his pictures tell a story. And when I went to his website, I went again this morning. It captures the emotion of the day, not just the people who were there on the day, which I think is really lovely. He occasionally does film. Shoots on film, and I'm going to just let him talk about what he does because he's probably going to be much better at that than I am. So, Chris, welcome to you this morning.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. This is an awesome thing, and I love to get out of my own way every once in a while to talk to people about what I do. So,
how did you start doing what you do? How did that happen?
That goes way back to high school. We still had wonderful shops back then in South Plainfield, New Jersey. One of them was a photography class. We had black and white photography with Mr. Richard Durso, who I visited years later after graduation and shot him on medium format film, did a little project just to kind of thank him for that because not a lot of teachers after you graduate get that reciprocal.
I bet he loved that.
Yeah, he was like blown away. He was blown away.
Yeah.
So how did you, now you do a lot of different things. You do weddings and engagements and family things, but you also do commercial shoots and things like that. How did you decide to expand your breadth into the wedding industry?
I always tell people the reason I do that is strictly by design, because I know a lot of folks that do burn out over time. And right now I'm 45 years old. So I am pacing myself to do this well into my later years, and you can do that by not burning yourself out. So I enjoy weddings, but I always tell people it's an emotional and financial transaction. So it's important to know your client, have a good meeting with them, whether it be phone or in person. And sometimes it's a long relationship too. People I see are booking, a year and a half, 2 years out again. So this is not what it was, 5 years ago, where people were like, our venue can't do the wedding right now. We need to pivot and do this just as the piece or in a park somewhere. So, you gotta pace yourself for that.
Yeah. I want to say that I'm looking through your photos and they're just beautiful. You have all of your couples look happy and relaxed. So you must have a good way of getting them to relax. And I'm seeing photos from some of the venues that I go to. There's one at 618 where you've captured the bride in the stairwell there with the 618 behind it, which is a venue in Freehold. And that is a location many photographers take of the couple or the bride. And I've never seen it captured so beautifully with the light coming down on her. Just beautiful there. And the other one that I really love is the one on the boardwalk at the shore, because it's capturing the sunset, which is photographers, you want to capture that beautiful sunset, but here in New Jersey, it doesn't set over the ocean.
No,
you have to catch it over the mansion, the beautiful houses, and you've captured it so beautifully there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to give a tip to people just starting out, because I'm not going to gatekeep on that. If you want to get seemingly a sunset over the ocean, go to Sandy Hook, shoot over the bay there. And if you time it right, so there's not a barge coming by, you can kind of get that look that you're shooting a West Coast sunset. I wasn't doing it in that particular photo you're talking about, but there's ways of getting around the limitations of being East Coast.
Yeah.
For that.
No, it's great. There's so many beautiful, and they probably are staged, but a lot of them don't look staged.
Right.
And I love that. It's more of like, this is just what happened. How often we're at weddings where we see something, it's like, wow, this is a great thing that's happening. Where are the photographers? But a lot of these look like they look like they don't even, like the people don't even know you're there, which is like I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, and a lot of that I think comes into the experience portion of it. When I first started out, I think everybody starts out with, I need this piece of gear, I need this flash, I need
Right.
this light modifier, I need. When it comes down to it, like going back to where I started in high school, black and white film photography, we didn't have a flash on the Pentax K1000. The school could not make that happen. So
Yeah.
you got the natural light crash course. And then as time goes on, you're doing maybe some off-camera flash and experimenting that way. But I think I've had instances where I've had a piece of gear I wanted to bring to a shoot and, forgot it. And it doesn't really matter in the end because I worked in so many different situations where Mother Nature might say, yeah, you're not using this light right now because we're going to hit you with a monsoon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm always ready to go. I could probably do most of what I need to do at this point with my phone because so much of it is composition and framing and color and light direction and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in
Yeah.
the wedding, when shooting weddings and you're on this time frame and this is the only shot you have, there are many moments where I would assume you have to pivot. The light's not working, the weather's not working, this piece isn't working. It's just a day of pivoting and also to stay within the timeline of a wedding because you have that
Right.
restriction as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you'll meet with a couple at a either the venue or you'll be discussing the venue because that's usually the way it goes. People book the venue first and then contact
Yes.
Right.
the other vendor. And they'll have this idea in their head about what that day is going to look like. And again, we might be talking a year and a half, 2 years out again, and you don't know what that day is going to look like. You hope it's going to be one way or the other, but Mother Nature just does what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you hit upon something that's really important. It's there is a real value to experience. 10,000 hours. I think that's Seth Godin. Yeah, 10,000 hours to get good at like any given thing you want to do, whether it's making an omelet or marrying people or taking their pictures. It's like
Right.
because you've seen what can happen and you've seen what does happen and you know how to deal with it and make it into a great thing, like that rainstorm. It's not like, oh God, now I have to be inside. It's like it's a fabulous thing instead of like a detriment to what you're trying to produce.
Yeah, and if you get too comfortable with the same, let's say the same venue, and you're hitting a streak of weather, which in New Jersey is not a thing anymore, of more than a week of the same weather, you get comfortable. You get, to boil it down, you get lazy because you're trying to sometimes replicate what you did the last time, and going back to starting out when it was a challenge each time to do a shoot. You have to think like that because I think a lot of artists, you'll see musicians and you'll see any type of performer down the line. You can see when they still have the fire and you can see when they're phoning it in.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You seem very versatile when I'm looking at your photos on your website, and I'll tell our listeners we will be putting a link to his website is thatwerksphotography.com, and it's works WERKS photography.com, and you can go to the gallery. And I mean, you have classic photos, and then there's that one at Ocean Place with the that is great. First of all, the couple standing there holding hands. He's a Marine, obviously.
Yep,
What is that? It's like not Iron Man, but I know my kid used to play with those toys that look like that.
So, yeah. So I grew up in the 80s. That is Voltron.
Voltron, yeah. My son is 30, and I swear he had a toy like that.
Yeah, Voltron was like one of those gifts. When you were a kid, everybody has that one gift. They're like, I gotta have that thing. And Voltron was few and far between back then. That was like that toy was everything to people my age for sure.
That is a great shot coming through.
They loved anime. There's a reason for it. They loved anime, so we kind of like bridged the gap there with having Voltron up here.
The beauty is though that your eye does go to the couple. I mean, it's a great shot of her dress and the flowing, and then Voltron and the smoke and the flames. That's just beautiful. And
and I shot Voltron separately. Obviously, I don't employ a 300-foot tall robot, so
right.
I have the toy, and
did you have the toy? I was going to say, did you have the toy? And
oh yeah,
setting it up.
Yep.
That's hilarious. Oh
I
my
love
God.
it. What advice do you have for your couples? Because as I said, they look relaxed and happy. And I know me, if somebody's going to take my picture, I'm just a nervous wreck. I'm a wreck
Hmm.
because I don't look good in photos. Every photo I take is terrible, da da da. And it looks like, but all of your couples look so at ease and so happy. Do you have a certain advice or a trick you use? I mean, the photographer is with the couple, like you become their best friends. You're with them all day at a
Right.
wedding.
Yeah, the easiest way to do it is having that meeting or series of meetings before you ever start taking photos. Sometimes, though, that's not in the cards. I've done a few lately, even where they're very much in the transactional. They've got the date book that's coming up fast. They need a
Yeah.
photographer. It's like they need. And yeah, we have a quick phone call, but we don't necessarily, or maybe even just an email. So we don't have that relationship like a half an hour sometimes, either Zoom or meeting in person. So I'm a very like light person. Even if the shot is serious, even if the mood is serious, I don't work that way. So I guess that's kind of like, if you've ever seen like a movie film set, everybody's like eating sandwiches in the back and fiddling with lights, and it's whatever the scene is in front of them in the back, it could be a totally different mood. So
Yeah.
I kind of work that way. So if something needs to be really intense, let's say there's a family member that needs like extra care because they're
Mhm.
older, and there's that. I'm not going to be cracking jokes at that moment, but for the most part, I think keeping it light, whatever the end result is in the photo, is what works best.
Yeah.
So I joke a lot. Is what the answer
Well,
is in short.
we talk about this all the time. It's like when people are relaxed, and almost all of my couples at some point in our conversation will say, like, I really don't love being in pictures. I hate posing, and we don't. It's like, well, you kind of can't avoid that because it is your wedding, and that's why like 100 people are there. And,
Yeah,
but I feel like if they feel comfortable with their photographer or their videographer per people, then they can just, relax because they trust you. They know you're not going to do anything horrible. It's
yeah.
going to
Like
be, yeah,
I'm not
Crafted a
actively trying to make
relationship.
anybody look bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm not out there to make you look your worst. It's usually people that maybe are a little bit older. They can get concerned about double chin and stuff like that, and so much of that can be alleviated through. I'm 6'3", so that solves problem number one. I'm
yes, you
taller
are.
than
You're like, I
so.
can attest to that. I just worked with you. You are
So,
extremely easy to find.
but
Yes.
there are people that are much taller than me, and I'm gonna address that, by going on stairs. But yeah, there's ways to get people comfortable if they maybe have an image type issue going on, or sometimes people just want to be the center of attention that are not the wedding couple,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then that's
Oh, yeah.
then that's a
Yes.
different thing. That's a different tone we have to take, and then sometimes I don't have to. I just sit back and do my job because the couple knows that and they address that. Not that I'm looking for them to, referee their own wedding all day, but
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll play it by ear is what happens.
Yeah. It's are you a fan? We've been asking this question. Are you a fan personally of the first look, or do you prefer it when people don't do that? How does that fit into how you're choreographing your day?
I mean, the way I see it, it doesn't matter to me. I think sometimes the raw emotion coming down the aisle is better than any first look would be. I think sometimes people get too in their own head about the first look. As opposed to being in front of the crowd. I kind of like people disappear to me in bulk when I'm in my
Mm.
zone, and then I'm picking off things that I see or feel about to happen on my periphery. So I think that, I mean, even go back to my own wedding, I feel like you're so in the moment that unless you have this idea you want to do the first look, then the family photos and all that right before, like that chronology works well. But
Mhm.
you have to be a good planner to do that too, because sometimes people say, "I want to have a first look," and they're up against that timeline of, okay, the ceremony is happening right after the first look, and you are late to your first look. So
Yeah.
it comes down to scheduling, and just making sure that everybody is where they need to be.
Yeah. Everybody's on the
Yeah,
same, yeah,
yeah.
on
But
the
to me, it
same
doesn't
thing.
really matter one way or the other. I think photojournalistic tendencies come in there. It's their day. I unless they ask me for my input and they're really leaning on me for it, I'm letting them tell me what they want first.
Yeah. Yeah. I see, again, at your gallery, I know that you just worked recently with Celia at the Old Mill Inn, and I know that you travel down by me, which is the shore areas. How far do you travel?
I always make the joke I'll go anywhere but Cape May.
I know, Cape May.
Yeah, me too.
Because realistically, I mean, it's a 3 hour drive one way for me, and especially summertime, we know what that's like. You can take out all the, I don't know if people know, in the north or maybe outside of New Jersey, there used to be traffic lights on the Parkway way down.
Okay.
And I think there's one technically left, like right after exit 0, but it still funnels into a very narrow corridor to get down to Cape May. So I joke, I would go there. It's just, I'm probably going to be staying over the night before or what have you to
exactly. The
make
last
sure I'm
time
fresh.
I was just a couple of weeks ago, in the heat of the summer in Long Branch at a venue that does not have parking on a weekend in the summer. I came home. I think I said, when I talked to Celia last time, I said, okay, I'm never going to Long Branch again in the summer. I mean, it is just a madhouse.
Yeah, I remember when
those places.
there's so many places that used to be you'd roll in and you could park on the sidewalk and nobody would care. Like Asbury Park used to be a ghost town.
Yeah. Now it's
we're far enough removed from that now where there's like a generation of people that have no idea what we're talking about when we say that.
Exactly.
But yeah,
I know,
idea.
it's true.
Exactly. So you'll travel anywhere, but Cape May just doesn't make sense. Do you have any favorite shots, favorite places to shoot, either engagements or weddings? Any great wedding stories or anything like that?
Oh, wedding stories. There are so many. There's
I
so
know.
many.
I know. And nobody would ever hire us if we actually told them. They would,
Yeah, and it's like you got to keep the names out and not make it too specific to what that day was. I mean, one that always sticks out, and I was shooting for a different studio. I wasn't shooting for myself, but I was at a wedding, and I want to say Park Chateau, Park Savoy. It was one of the park venues.
Yeah.
One of those. I saw a bridesmaid completely collapse from like a diabetic episode.
no.
And it was shocking, but then it was like the dad ran up and was tending to her because I think it was, a very known thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So there's things like that where you're like, what's going on? Meanwhile, you're snapping away as this person's going to the ground because you don't know what's happening. Are they picking up something they dropped? Oh no, they're passing out. So there's been things like that. There's been, oh man, I've seen fights at weddings I've attended. There's so many things, but for the most part,
no, it's hard to pick. I know. It's we were talking about this the other day. It's like I'm good for like somebody fainting like at least once a month during the summer months, and it's always a guy. It's never like it's rarely a woman. It's usually a guy because okay, maybe they had beer for breakfast and they had nothing else, since then.
Right.
And they're wearing like 87 layers of clothes.
This summer is no joke, too. I mean, my phone just constantly just heat wave advisory. Heat wave. Like, I get it. I'll just stop till October. We know.
Yeah.
So and even then we might have some. But yeah, there's a lot of things that happen that are out of your control. And this goes for all the vendors that are at a wedding. And you all kind of sidebar and reassess.
Exactly.
and the trick is to keep that as much away from the couple as possible.
Exactly.
I used to regularly work at a venue where that was a regular process, and I don't know if we want to get into that venue, but I had to basically be the general and every soldier to make sure that things happened on the timeline so they could get to their cocktail hour, that they could enjoy the full reception with the live band that they hired. And that's where, photographer plus comes into play. You just can't have the skill set of photographer.
Right. That's photographing weddings different. So different than, because I know you do a lot of photography, a lot of different types of photography, but wedding is so specific. Just the timeline alone and working with the other vendors and it's just so different than other types of shoots. Yeah,
like there's, like I say, that emotional component. I have clients that have far more of a budget than any wedding I've ever shot, but it's a totally different thing. The person signing the checks, it's not coming out of their bank account. You know, people are trusting you with essentially a chunk of their life savings to do magic in real time, like for them on the day of the wedding. And that's the thing. Like when that contract is signed, I want them to have the peace of mind that what they see on my site is what they're getting. You know, maybe not the literal image, of course, it's on the website, but they're getting a representation of that work on their day.
You know, I think that's so important because it kind of harkens back to that experience little chunk that we talked about. It's like, you know, you need to hire people that you have the confidence in based on, you know, probably your conversations with them over the course of, you know, booking and getting to the day and, you know, their portfolio and their experience. Like your cousin Fred might have a great camera, but your cousin Fred doesn't know intuitively what's going to happen next, where you do. You've done hundreds and hundreds of weddings. You kind of know, no, not exactly none of us know exactly what's going to happen next. That would take all the fun out of it, wouldn't it?
Right.
But you sort of know what to anticipate, you know, and where to be and how to deal with that. And I wish more people in all the specialties, you know, with music and photography and like everything would be like, you know, we've done this hundreds and hundreds of times. That doesn't mean that we're going to do the same thing for you, but it means that we do have a grip on what should happen versus what can happen. You know, that's so important.
Yeah. And most of the venues that I work with at this point, they know that, you know, I think there's also been a change in venues from what I've seen over time, where it used to be very adversarial between venue and vendor. That was just a thing that, you know, you'd see it on the boards, like so-and-so said I have to do this. And they're, you know, telling me not to go through the main entrance and yelling at me to go through the kitchen, but I'm knocking into people making food for the cocktail. Like that stuff has kind of subsided because I think just the sheer volume of weddings in New Jersey, that formula was never going to ever work out long term. I think no matter what venue you go to, the venue has to be welcoming. The vendors have to be understanding of, you know, any rules that might be in place that are for a good reason. And there should be synergy on the day of, and not this like, you're in our house, our rules, you know, like we don't need to start things that way.
No, you're right. And it just works out so much more, you know, and this is why, you know, we love the preferred lists when there are good people on the preferred list, because it's like, and I tell people, it's like, these are people who have worked together all the time. The wedding that we did at the Old Mill, I've literally worked with all of those vendors, including Liz, who I love, dozens of times. And there's an intuition and there's a synergy that happens there. That's like nobody's walking into the day going, oh, God, I hate that DJ. Why do I have to deal with him? You know, we're all like, because it gets in the way of what we're all there to do, you know?
Yeah. And I think, like I said, most venues now are very, very accommodating and realize how important it is to be that way.
Yeah. To have people who are not only good at what we do, but good at, you know, playing well with others, you know, because that's so important. The couple doesn't really need to know that anybody, you know, I hate that person. It's like, that's just, it's counterproductive. It really is.
Yeah. And it's a relatively short day considering the preparation that went into it. You know, like,
it's true.
Even if it's an 8 to 10 hour day, which it doesn't happen as much anymore for me, I feel like that is also formula has changed where people are like, you know what, I don't need the second I arrive at the venue getting ready to the very last moment where the last vendor is packing out. And that's also a good thing that people have learned over time. We don't need every single moment of the day captured.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Right. That stuff has changed. That has changed.
Yeah.
I love your eye for it. I love the picture of the couple in the bathtub. And at first glance, I think it's Bubbles, but it's not. It's her dress. You have such an artist's eye. And also the bridesmaids and the bride on the beach. There's something about that color that looks like I don't know. It's just beautiful.
There was like a pastel. There was a pastel thing going on. That was the same wedding that had the Voltron with the hotel.
There was a time when the pastel thing was happening, but that's a beautiful take on it. I love that. How far in advance should a couple hire you? Are you still booking for 2025 or your 2026, 2027?
Yeah, for 2026, that's when most people are leaning toward. I do have a couple people that are still figuring out if they want to get married this fall, which Godspeed. I
Where?
don't.
In their bathroom? Where are
I
they going to
think
get married this fall?
I think I think at this point they're going to have to consider the bathroom, possibly their basement if someone is using the bathroom, because I don't know. I can't control that. I never have, and I never will. And I'll never understand it also. But there's a lot of things going on in people's lives where that might be a thing. They might be getting ready to move to a different state, and they're like,
Yeah.
we do it now before the family has to travel to us. You just don't know. That's one thing people never fill out on the lead form is the full story of why we're doing this in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They don't usually tell you, and that's fine. But it's also kind of difficult to get people to pull the trigger sometimes, where they're bouncing around between. I might do it in the fall of 2025, but I'm also considering spring of 2026. I'm like, well, those are two very, very different things. And I am available right now for both of those, but pick one.
Yeah. It's hard because, I feel like if I had to plan my own wedding, I would totally elope. I would make Andrea do it, and I would totally elope because I couldn't handle. It's like, oh my God, you have to order place cards. It's like then you have to put people at tables. It's like,
Yeah.
no. It's gargantuan.
But
And,
Some of my favorite,
Go
some
on.
of my favorite weddings. Sorry, I didn't want to step all over
Go
everybody.
ahead.
Some of my favorite weddings have been at bed and breakfast, 10 people or less.
love them, love them, love them, love them. Yep.
And that's usually zero drama whatsoever, just by the sheer nature of, we're having. They've told people we're having this small wedding. This is what it is, and there's not a lot of pomp and circumstance. There might be, somebody doing some music and a celebrant coming in, and obviously the B&B itself, and it keeps it very light. And I'm doing the same quality work there as I would anywhere else, but with probably significantly less blood pressure going on.
Yeah. And, for the couple too, we do, I would say probably at this point, my work is probably half elopements and micros and half big weddings. Because I think just, when you start to talk about like 70, 80, $90,000 for a party, what is essentially a party, I think like the stress level goes up so much because everything needs to be in everybody's mind, needs to be like insanely perfect. And it's not like having your 30 favorite people at a B&B or an inn, which is just, all right, so maybe the place cards aren't the right color. Nobody cares,
Right.
It's just, it's not over there. Yeah.
That's one suggestion I have for people too, when they, of course they've booked your venue first. I always throw it out there. Do you want to do an engagement session at the venue? Because more often than not, you're never going to cover all the square footage that you tour.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get to all of it. So especially if it's a nice day and you can plan in advance, let's go do the engagement session there. Most places are fine with that as long as you're not coming, 5 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And that tends to work pretty well because people do. I got married at a place where, we covered a pretty good amount of ground, but still didn't get to take a photo in every corner we saw looking at it, So
I think it's just, I love the engagement when people do engagement shoots too, because it lets you guys collectively get to know each other a little bit better. And, there is that relationship. We talk about that a lot because, we do weddings and then we'll do a baby naming and then maybe we'll do a memorial. And, you do become, their family photographer, their family officiant, the people that they always call, which is, it's really, it's very flattering, but it's also, I think it's very comforting for the people who have the chance to enter into that kind of relationship.
Yeah. And so much of what I do is referral based too. The majority of what comes in is from what I've done in the past.
Same.
And, you might have a couple that hired you for the wedding and you did the baby photos and all of that. And then they might move to somewhere where that's not going to work anymore with your location and yours. And most of their family is still back where that event happened and you'll get work from that.
Yeah. So nice to be called back to do the rest of the family and the friends. You did my friends, you did my cousins, you did my sisters.
I have people that I used to work with when I had an office job. This is 13, 14 years ago at this point, that remember how into it I was getting because I used to work full time and then rent studio space at night because I was getting so fed up with my job.
Yeah.
And it was like a creative outlet. And then it just became something that they picked up in the office. Hey, you want to do a little bit more photo video? Yeah. But that didn't, products don't really fill the heart and mind very well. I like shooting products as part of what I do, but not all the time. And it just helped broaden the portfolio.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to tell our listeners, again, we will put a link to Chris's website, thatwerksphotography.com, as well as a link to his Instagram site. And you can go right on his website, look at his gallery, look at his package and rates, and you can contact him easily right through the website. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. This is fun. I am glad that, like I said, I got out my own way to talk about my work a little bit today because it's not always the way
it's good.
the schedule goes.
Good. And we look
great.
forward to seeing you at some weddings coming up soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Chris. You have a great one. Stay cool.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.